The changes that AAC Eye Tracking technology brought me by Su Meijuan/Tiffany. Hi, nice meeting you all here in Australia. My name is Tiffany, and I'm from an old town in Beijing, China. As you can tell from my appearance, I was born different because of my physical conditions. But I have never lost faith in life. If God wants me to be different, guess what? I will live life the way it is. I am still me, a joyful Pisces girl. When I was 3 months old, my parents discovered that I was a bit different, as I was not meeting some of the development milestones. Usually a child is able to flip himself by 3 months, and sit by 6 months. They started to suspect that something might be wrong. But that was a dreadful thought, so they thought to give me more time, and that I was only a little delayed, nothing serious, until I was 6 months old, and still I couldn't sit or flip. They realized that I might be sick. So they took me to Beijing Children's Hospital. The doctor informed them that I had cerebral palsy. Upon hearing the news, they were white as sheet. Immediately they asked, "Can she be cured?" But the doctor didn't have a definitive answer. After that diagnosis, my parents literally took me to every hospital in Beijing, seeking cure and medicine, from 6 months old to 6 years old. And it wore them out, not only physically and mentally, but also financially. Actually, when I was first diagnosed, someone suggested to my mother that they should abandon me, give me up to some charity, and have another child while they are still young. I understand that now because it's the easy way out. But my mother said, "She is my child, my flesh and blood, I will never give her up. Whether she is sick or not, as long as I'm alive, she will be in my shelter, and I will give her a home." So before I was 6 years old, my life was all about hospitals and medicine, until I met with a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. He said to my parents that this can't be cured, use the money instead to give her a better life. My parents were both desperate and exhausted, so they decided that my mother would quit work and stay home to take care of me. My physical conditions have left me always dependent on others. I can't eat by myself. I can't use the restroom by myself. I can't dress myself. Even though I desperately want to be independent, I just can't. And sadly, my condition has also put me through many unfair and unequal experiences. Once I stood in the taxi area at Beijing railway station for 4 hours, watching taxis coming and going, but no one was willing to take me, because I can't speak. Once I went to karaoke with my friends, but they wouldn't let me in because I looked normal, and they didn't want to be held responsible should anything go wrong with me. Once I was at a movie with friends and everyone was staring at me, like blades and swords coming at me. Luckily I've learned to ignore the stares and gossips. It took me a long time before I learned how to walk. And I still walk very slowly, with great exertion. Wheelchair can always be helpful, but I prefer to walk by myself, to feel the world with my own feet. I like traveling a lot, but I haven't been to many places, and this is my first trip on an airplane, and to Australia. And I'm feeling so lucky. because it's the eye tracking technology that brings me this far. Before I was introduced to eye tracking, or before I even heard of eye tracking technology, my life was more or less on the downside. I wouldn't say that it was completely miserable, but I know I could have been better. I had difficulty controlling my hand movement, so I could only use my feet to type. For every word that I put in, I had to raise my head to look at the screen, otherwise there would be a lot of misspelled words. When I was at school and had an essay to write, I would always feel so tired every time I used the computer to type. To make things worse, it also caused damage to my spinal cord, which made me hate writing essays more. The inability to type also made it hard for me to maintain socially active too. When I was talking to my friends online, as I was typing so slowly, so often was that they have sent a lot of messages before I even finished one. Sometimes they would think of me as silly and dumb, and it broke my heart. Just because I couldn't get my voice out doesn't mean I don't have feelings or thoughts. I can still remember how hurt I felt. So the time has come to 2011, when my life was completely changed. I joined a rehabilitation center named AAC and got to know Peter, who is a teacher there. AAC is like a home to me. Everyone is so nice and kind. It is my safe harbor, and it is the first place I will go when I feel frustrated. I remember once I went back to visit them this year. Peter's colleague asked me, "How long have you known Peter? And since when do you call him your brother?" I said, 6 years now. I call him brother since the very first time met him. In Chinese culture, calling someone your brother or your sister means that you two are very close. I didn't know that Peter was right behind me. He heard our conversation and said, "So you never think of me as your teacher?" I was a bit embarrassed, but in the meantime so happy, because they truly respected me and treated me as an equal. We could tease and joke, just like everyone else. It was Peter who introduced me to Tobii eye tracking technology 3 years ago, and introduced me to David from Tobii, who later became a very good friend of mine. I will always remember that day, when I tried it out for the first time. It was May the 20th, in Chinese language. The date is kind of pounced like inverted exclamation mark I love you inverted exclamation mark plus minus sign, so it was a very special date. The night before, I didn't sleep at all. I don't know if it was because I was nervous or excited. I was flipping over and over in bed, looking at the clock, and it was ticking so slowly. When I got to AAC early next day, Peter asked me, "I guess you didn't sleep well. You've got panda's eyes now." I didn't say anything. I was way too nervous. About 30 minutes later, David came, along with a huge black box. My first impression of him, he was gentle and chubby. As a Pisces girl, I do care a lot about first impressions. I don't know why, but he frightens me. I mean, I know that he is super kind to me and will help me no matter what. But from the first time I met him till now, he still makes me scared, for no reason at all. Shush now, no one knows about this, except for Yao, tech support from Tobii, also David's colleague. I'm telling you this in confidence. So please, all of you, don't tell David. Speaking of Jarl, he was like Yoda to me. Not only can he type so quickly, but he is so sweet. It often happens that, the minute before, he would piss me off so hard that I wanted to kill him. But the next minute, he would say something that was so touching and made me want to cry. Every Christmas, he would send me chocolate that he bought from abroad. I literally cried the first time I got the chocolate, because he made me realize, somewhere far away, someone still cares for me. David was talking to Peter while opening the black box, fishing out a computer-looking machine. I remember thinking, so this is what an eye tracking device looks like. It is so weird. How the hell am I going to use it? Can it do what I want it to do? Can it be my voice? I was lost in thoughts. David had to call me several times to wake me up. He said, "Come here, and let's do calibration first. Please look at the little black dots on the screen." When I sat in front of the computer, all the nervous feelings that's been haunting me vanished. I was so calm. Instead, it was Peter who seemed anxious, and kept saying green. I wanted to give him a look, but I managed to contain myself. I didn't understand what he meant by green then. It was the ideal outcome color for calibration. But I had a yellow, which didn't seem optimistic, yet it didn't affect much of the accuracy. I practiced a little bit, and it was very easy to learn. The happy hours flew fast. I was almost capable of navigating the computer with my eyes when the session ended. Peter and David could see that I wanted to try more, and they agreed to arrange another session with me as soon as possible. When I got home that day, a strange feeling of giving up crawled into me. I felt like I was stupid, not being good at controlling with my eyes. I talked with David for a long time, and he kept encouraging me to give it another try before jumping onto decisions. And I'm really grateful for his insistence, otherwise things will still be hard for me. The I-Series has brought so many changes in my life. I spend 4 hours daily on it, listening to music, reading online, studying and everything. Sometimes I use the I-Series to watch movies and TV shows. I like classic music. And I think every piece of music tells a story itself. When you can understand what it is telling, and you feel it is written for you. I also like to follow the status of my favorite star, Wang. I like him because he has the most warming and contagious smile in the world. Whenever I see him smile, I can't help smiling too. My favorite song of his is Missing the Freeze Wheel. He is cute and modest and delightful, and he makes me believe all the effort will eventually pay off. Sometimes I use the I-Series to watch movies and TV shows. My favorite movie is Tiny Times by Go Zhengming, a Chinese writer and director. I like the way he writes. He manages to find happy in sorrow. I'm also a lot quicker in typing. Before I had I-Series, it would be like, my friends have sent me a couple of messages, and I haven't finished even one. That won't happen now. And no one will call me silly anymore. Truth is, I pick up the speed by talking to Yaro. He is the master of computer. If I can't type quick enough, I don't have the confidence to talk with him, and I doubt I will ever beat him in this. iSeries has given me access to so many things that I couldn't dream of doing, and has made things so much easier for me. My friends say that I'm much more cheerful than before, a little spoilt even, because I can make jokes, tell funny stories, and argue even. And most importantly, I feel less inferior. I used to feel so uncomfortable when I went outside and people just stared at me, like I'm some alien to them. But I don't think like that anymore. I may not be able to speak clearly with my mouth, but I can get the computer to speak for me. I'm no different than others, and I merely need a tool to communicate. Just stare at me as you want, because I'm just that pretty. It is true that I will never recover from cerebral palsy. But please don't alienate me because I can't speak, because I can't control my movements. I am a person first. I asked my mother once, does she regret keeping me? And she said, I so regret it. All you do is to piss me off. We laughed at it. I know she's only joking. She's been through so much raising me up. Thank you for not giving up on me and always be there for me. I love the iSeries from Tobii Dynavox, and I feel so lucky to be able to use it. I want to thank the eye tracking technology for opening another window for me, and for having the chance to meet Meredith Fallon and be here. Thank you for making this happen.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for such an amazing speech. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask?
Tiffany's currently typing in Chinese, so I'll translate for her. 'So her answer is that she will leave the device at home because she does not have a wheelchair to kind of mount the device, so it has to stay at home. But she really wants to go out with the device. Any more questions? Yeah.
Do you have a low-tech option?
What do you mean by that?
Paper-based.
Right. Like, is Tiffany using low-tech also?
Yeah.
Okay. No, she doesn't have a low-tech solution, not when she goes out and not when she's at home. But like she mentioned, she can type with her feet. I mean, it can be tiring, but that's kind of the easy solution for her when she goes out.
I say something. I have been seeing Tiffany writing
Right.
And it works great. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. If like any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.